On a lazy weekend afternoon when I want to create something delicious, something a little bit different, I make these beignets. These are savoury French donuts. They're super delicious. And the cheese is interchangeable. I'm using some gruyere cheese today, but these work really well with Parmesan and cheddar cheese. So we'll start with the pastry or the dough. Into a pot, we're going to add some water and some butter. So this is exactly like a choux pastry. You'll know them from the sweet style ones, but it's a fantastic base for a savoury style donut just like this too. So we're going to place the heat on and just allow that butter to melt completely, almost come to a boil. While that's happening, we can grate our cheese. I like to freshly grate the cheese here just so it melts in evenly to our dough later on. And by all means, you can take this basic recipe and transform it even further by adding different spices, even herbs. I've tried this with some dried thyme. Oregano works really nicely. Even a pinch of chili is quite nice. Okay, that's enough of our cheese, and we're going to add that later. Now that that's melted, we need to add our flour. Now, I'm using an all-purpose premium flour for this. We want a good quality flour because we want these to crisp up nicely in our oil later on. So we're going to add 3/4 cup, and using a wooden spoon, we want to work that flour into the butter and water mixture, also a good pinch of salt. And this is where you need a bit of elbow grease, because what we're aiming for is a ball of dough that comes together. And I ideally say you want to mix this for about 1 minute. So keep working that with a wooden spoon. And you can see how a light crust is forming at the base of the pan. That's a good indication. So work that for another 30 seconds. And then I'm going to take it out of the pan into my mixing bowl and give it a really good mix just to cool it down slightly before we add the eggs. Cool down now so I can add the eggs. Now, don't add the eggs all together. I start with one egg, allow it to incorporate quite nicely, and then add the other egg. The eggs have been incorporated, so it's time to add a big handful of the gruyere cheese, and then just give that another mix until that's evenly distributed. Then I'm going to place it into a piping bag. Ready to go. I've placed it in a piping bag with a nozzle just to give it a lovely pattern as it drops into the oil. Of course, you don't need to do this. You can just scoop it straight into the oil from the bowl. And another little tip, just like you were doing churros, you press down onto it and then cut it with some scissors and carefully lower it into the oil. Now, you want this oil to be at 180 degrees, so I'm going to make a few more of these. You can make really long ones or short ones. I like bite-sized ones. These are fantastic, like I said, as a snack, but a really nice canapé if you've got some friends coming over too. Last few beignets coming out of the oil. How good do they look? Smell fantastic too with the cheese. Now, to finish these off, I like to add some more cheese, so we'll just pile them up on this pretty plate. Listen to that, how crispy they are. And they almost look like little chippies, but when you bite into them, they're going to be so soft and donut-like in the centre, crispy on the outside. And I have a little extra of that gruyere, so we'll grate that over the top and around the plate. And what goes with cheese? Pepper, so freshly cracked pepper. And that's my take on a cheese beignet. I'm gonna have a taste of this one. Oh, wow. Crunchy on the outside, pillow-like in the centre, and see all that melty cheese in the centre. These are such a treat, and get adventurous with them. Change the cheese around, add some spices and some herbs. Absolutely delicious. Yum.